So we have an amazing show for you today. It's going to be about building the perfect dream team for product success. And it's going to give you hands-on tools as well as thoughts. And it's provided to you by our very marvelous, wonderful Lech, workplace cultural designer and an idealist. So who's better suited than Lech to share this knowledge with you?
Thank you very much. I'll start, of course, by sharing my screen. So you should be seeing my presentation, hopefully now. Right. So I'd like to start with a bit of a personal story. And that will start with this. This is me. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old. And sport for me, from even that early age, probably even a bit earlier than that, was part of my life. And it continues to be part of my life, a massive part of my life, even today. And to the point that it crosses over into the work that I do. And because as I said, I often use sports examples and analogies to illustrate how teams work together, because I think they provide a great examples that we can learn from. And this is what I'd like to do with you today. I'd like to tell you 3 stories from the sports world to help you build better product teams. And the aim is to kind of change your perception, your viewpoint, how you look at things, of what makes a good team, because I think that's an important thing. And also, I'd like to give you 3 tools that can help you on that journey. If you already agree with my perception, you share my perception of what a good team is, these 3 tools will also help you take things to the next level. So the first story that I'd like to start off with is about this guy. You all know him. He's the 6-time NBA champion. He has been part of the NBA All-Star team 7 times. He's been named as one of the top 50 NBA players of all time, of all history. He's won 2 gold Olympic medals. And on 8 seasons, a separate season, he was named one of the top defenders in the league. And of course, I'm talking about Scottie Pippen. And I know that majority of you would have thought that was Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan is the one that the world knows. But it's the partnership with Scottie Pippen that allowed Jordan to become one of the greatest players of all time. Because Pippen was the enforcer. He was the dirty works guy. He was the person behind the scenes working his socks off on defense, which allowed Michael Jordan to be freed up to lead the attack and score a majority of the points that actually won the games. But Pippen also played a very important role off the basketball court in the locker room, because Michael Jordan was known as a very difficult person to work with. He was basically a hard ass, but people had to be ready for his criticism every day. And that criticism was very, very tough, often on the verge of being abusive, maybe even beyond that. And that's where Scottie Pippen provided the counterbalance to that behavior, because he would be the one who would put his arm over the shoulder of the player or players, because often there were multiple and there were more than one, and to make sure that they were okay. So he provided that vital counterbalance. I really urge you to watch the Last Dance documentary on Netflix about Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls in one of the final seasons that they've played. It's a fantastic study of psychology, leadership, from all sorts of angles. So it's a great watch. I highly recommend you to watch that. Second story comes from volleyball, where in men's volleyball, the average player height is around 195 centimeters. For those using the imperial system, that's about 6'3", with many players actually being more taller than 2 meters. So you can safely say that it's a tall people's sport. However, then you have this guy on each team, the libero or libero, how it's properly pronounced because it's an Italian word. And as I said, there's one on every team. He's usually around 178 centimeters tall. So what's the deal here? If it's the tall people's sport, why have someone this short on your team? Well, the reality is that the libero tends to be the best receiver on the team, making him a great defensive player. He's often one of the best passers on the team, which means he can get involved in attacking plays as well. And not to mention the tactical versatility he gives the coach with how he can be used on the court and with substitutions. So there's no denying that he is a vital player, plays a vital role on the team, despite being always the shortest person on that team. And the third story comes from the sport that gave us the scrum. Now, I'm pretty certain all of you know what a scrum is. Majority of you probably are working as part of scrum teams, but who knows what sport am I talking about? What sport does scrum come from? Quick question, drop it in the answer in the chat. Yes, rugby, exactly. Very, very quick answers, spot on. I thought most people would actually know that. In case you don't know what a proper rugby scrum looks like, this is it. That's what a scrum is. And there's one rugby team in particular that I'd like to talk about, and that is the New Zealand rugby team, also often referred to as the All Blacks. And a few facts about New Zealand. New Zealand as a country has a population of 5 million people. That's a very small country. In rugby terms, in terms of finances and resources, they are absolutely dwarfed by countries like England, France, South Africa, or Australia. They don't stand a chance in terms of finances and the resources they've got available and the players they've got available if they got only 5 million population. Yet they have dominated the world of rugby for over a decade. And at one point, they were the most successful team with an 86% winning record. 86% of games they've won out of the games that they've played. It's an amazing figure. And this is not just successful in rugby terms. It's successful. It's the most successful of any teams in any sport. 86%. It's astounding. How did they do that? What's the kind of key ingredient here? Well, the entire team, 15 players and the ones on the bench, are made up of highly skilled world-class athletes, each of whom individually are capable of making decisions, key decisions, and taking actions that can dramatically change the course of any game at any time, right? To use the world of work, the corporate jargon that we kind of might relate to, they're basically the epitome of a self-organizing and empowered high-performance team. There's no denying about that. What's my point? What connects these three stories? How does that link to you as product managers and teams that you build and we build? Well, here's an example of a product team, give or take a function or two, depending on kind of what the focus of a product is or the project is, right? Every individual, every function in this team, it brings something different to the table. Everyone has a role to play. So the thing is, unlike what the graphics suggest, they don't work in silos. It's probably a little bit more like this. This is a better representation of the structure of such a team. They work together, and the place where they intersect is where the magic happens, that middle bit. And here's the thing, you as the PM have not only the ability to deliver the product, but also to see how everything, and most of all, everyone fits together in all of this. And that's what my aim is for today. I want you to start looking at the teams, at your teams, at the people you work with differently. I want you to recognize that a truly successful team is not about being full of superstars. That will not work. It's about having the right mix of Jordans and Pippins, short and tall players, and also about creating an environment where people feel empowered to make decisions, to be themselves, and also feel connected to the team. Couple of ways, I promise you, of how you can do that I'd like to share. Well, the first way that you can do is a very simple one. You can use the HR skill matrix. You go to HR, ask for it, then compare all the jobs that need to be done, the products that you need to be built, etc., and you're good to go. That's one way. But the thing is, I think there are better ways, ones that will let you see your team from a different perspective, and ones that will connect you with them on a more human and emotional level. And the first one is to start by recognizing that your team is made up of not only superstars, but also rock stars. You need a mixture of both. And rock stars are, as the name suggests, they are solid as a rock. They absolutely love their work. They found their groove. They're happy where they are. They're not chasing promotions or climbing the career ladder. At least not this time. This is not important to them. Might be in the future, but at this moment in time, they're the solid foundation you can build your team on, because these are the people you can truly rely on. Superstars, on the other hand, are the ones that help you kind of push things towards the high performers, the high achievers on your team. They are the ones questioning the status quo, and they need to be and want to be challenged, because otherwise they might become unmotivated. And as I said, these are the people that will help you set the pace and move things forward on your projects with your products. And you need the right balance of both. It's very individual to each team of what that balance is. So you need to be able to assess who's who and what do you need for your particular project, for your particular product. And something that might help you with this is the coaching support matrix. So it can help you with working with your superstars and rockstars, but you can use it as a standalone model as well. And basically, this is something that you can use as guidance to help you understand your team better, because you plot your team members on this chart based on their level of experience and skill and enthusiasm. And that will land them in one of the boxes, somewhere between supervise, instruct, motivate, or trust. And this will allow you to figure out how much support each team member needs and how you can adapt your management style to help them do their job, because ultimately that's the aim. And the last thing, and it's probably one of my favorites, is to use the social bullseye activity, which allows you to see under the surface and create a picture of how people see themselves in relation to the team. It's actually very, very simple, because what you ask people to do is you want them to position themselves on the bullseye based on how connected they feel to the team. And the reason it's my favorite is because it looks at people at a human level. It starts conversations that you might not otherwise have. Because sometimes people who you think feel very connected to the team because they're one of the superstars actually might put themselves as far as outside of the social bullseye. Because although the work that they do, they just don't feel that connection for whatever reason. And it gives you an opportunity to start that conversation and figure out what it is that you can do to help them. And all of this will improve that team cohesion. It will create psychological safety, and most of all, encourage vulnerability and change that point of view that we have on our team members. Now, each of these models it deserves a separate talk in its own. So I can't do it justice to describe and tell you exactly how to use them. But what I've done instead is I've put all the relevant links that you can and reading materials for you to visit on this website. So human.pm/pb obviously for ProductBeats. And what you'll find there will be links to our further articles for further reading, so you can check out each of the models, things that you can try, but most of all, the instructions for a self-mini workshop that you can lead by yourself with your team for the social bullseye. So you've got all the instructions there. And I'd like to leave you with a final thing, because I often hear people say, yes, I lead projects or product teams, but they are not my direct reports. What can I do? So there's not much there. And think about this. In my opinion, leadership is not a rank. It's not that you need to have people reporting to you to be a leader. That's not what makes you a leader. What makes you a leader, what it's about, is about how you can make things better for your team and saying, okay, I'm going to do something about this, and then just doing it. So that is me. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out by email or LinkedIn. As I said, do go over to human.pm/pb to get all the additional materials that you might want to have. And if you've got any questions, do feel free to reach out.
Some great insights from Lech in how to build a perfect team. And it's a lot about psychological safety, and we already know that. We just have to be really good at it, making sure that everyone is heard. Also, I like the social bullseye, even though for me it's a terrifying exercise. But I truly recommend you, if you're brave enough, to go for it.
Thank you for watching this recording from the ProductBeats show. Remember to become a member in our Competence Center at productbeats.heartland.com to get weekly invites. All the links will be available in the description box below. You can also follow us at Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Just search ProductBeats. Now, enjoy the rest of your product week, and we hope to see you in the future.